Hey everyone, this is Gnorat, and this is another installment of the gameplay analysis. You have commented on it and you really liked what I'm doing here, which means a lot to me that you liked seeing me play. So we have another matchup here, highly anticipated. This is VSK9, worst matchup by far for this deck. And I am up against my friend Plutrok. So I will leave his Twitter in the description. Make sure to give him a follow. And let's hop into the game, right? We have opened Mululu, Fualos, Lucias, Ash, Nib. We are going first. And he opened Stake Your Soul, Raisin, Jiaolong, Izuna, and Kurikaro. So step one of winning against VSK9, don't let them have Holisu, which he doesn't. Yeah, so our hand is okay. We have good hand traps, like very good hand traps into this matchup. But our line is a bit fragile here because if we get Veilored or Impermed on Lucias, then our turn just ends, right? But I knew this was VSK9, so I don't know if they even run those two hand traps. But also, if I just go for the Mululu line, which is safer into Imperm, the board will not be strong enough against this deck, right? So I just go stand by mine, obviously, and I decide to normal summon the Lucias and go for that line because Seal's line gives me a much better shot at actually winning this game than trying to go for the safe Mululu line, right? So we go at 5 mana, of course, and we use the 5 mana to fuse the name in hand plus the dead card, the Fuwalos, into Arthalion, and then we go set the Rahu, and Arthalion adds back both of our names, which will be useful later. Then we go into Spirit with Eyes of Blue. And this is the checkpoint where they could Izuna if they want to gamble. Because if you watch my Nash Knight video, they can make a Nash Knight here, take the Arthalion, Iron Dragon locked, and I would really punish them if I had a Keto in hand, which I do not here. I still have an out with the Rahu, but I would just have to summon an Arthalion from the deck and then send a pan pop the Nash Knight, and that's that. So I think in this scenario, taking the Arthalion would actually be strong, but I have an Ash for the Izuna anyway. But he doesn't. We played a bunch of matches before, and he did that once, but then I had a good line into it, and I just removed the Nash Knight and still left a good board. So he decided it's better to wait for the Izuna until the end of main, which I also agree. So I go Rahu. For the 5 mana, the Urgula, both names I haven't used yet, set the 2 traps, and now we go Urgula, add back the 5 mana, just standard Lucias plus name line. And now, end of main, he goes Izuna, and I Ash the Izuna. Very good interaction because otherwise the Izuna would eat the seals and make my board significantly weaker. So we check the Izuna here, and now we pass to him. He top decks the Ash, which is fine because the Ash plays good into his board because he can negate Horn, he can negate Flame, right? So that's a good thing. So he goes Stake Your Soul, and generally against VSK9, I just flame whatever I see. They don't run that many spells. You can flame the field spell, that's a good one, but something like Stake Your Soul is also powerful enough that I just throw a flame at it. And if you look at the hand, there is no other spell here, right? So field spell, they could get through Engine, but I have ways to pop with, for example, Gulamel with an Urguda, right? So I just throw the flame here, and he ashes it so that he can summon the Raisin. And I think he revealed the Raisin here because that gives the least amount of information. And or he revealed the Ash. That also might be it. But anyway, he then goes Raisin effect to add, and I just let that through. Note that if they activate Raisin to add, they cannot activate the column pop in the same chain. So if I wanted to do something like Gulamel pop this, right? If I had any like Dracotail trigger to pop it, I could do that right here, and he couldn't respond with the Raisin pop. But I just decided to let it through, and now he goes Raisin after that to force my Gulamel. So the Gulamel would die here. I don't have a Pan Engrave, which is unfortunate, so I would just lose the Gulamel. So what I decide to do is he is summoning everything in defense anyway due to the horn, and I'll just use the horn here. Reason being, I have a Nibiru in hand, so I want to take bodies off the board, especially level 5s, because that gets him Ripper, to make him invest more cards from hand into the board, and then I nib, right? Once I nib and he has little cards in hand, that should win me the game. Also, there is Ripper to check the nib, but the Ripper is checked by the seals, right? So I can just leave the seals on board forever just to discourage him from making the Ripper. And if I nib and my seals are still on the board, that doesn't matter because the seals get tributed and I still get the summon from the deck. So this is a very strong interaction against any deck that tries to push into your board. So we go Horn. I just wanted to see a reaction. There is no reaction. And we go Gulamel, pop the Izuna, take it off board, put it back in the extra, shuffle the Flame, draw a card, hopefully a hand trap, but it is a Molulu. Unfortunately, we will have 3 Molulus in rotation, but that's fine. So, still no normal summon from him. Very important to keep in mind when you have Nip. He goes Jiaolong because there was a reveal in hand, right? Through the Raisin, Fire and Dark, so we know the Mad Love, we know the Raisin. And the Jiaolong now goes and reveals Raisin and Kurikara, and at this point we know the exact hand, right? We know that there is these 2 fires and the darks that got revealed, and we know that he will add a Holisu here, and that Holisu is going to activate now, and I chain to the Holisu effect in hand. Why do I do that? Because I have a Molulu in hand. If you have Molulu or Pan in hand and they activate Holisu in hand, you want to fuse with Molulu or Pan and bring out whatever, and then your Molulu or Pan can check the Holisu. So we bring back the Arthalion. Arthalion target Ash Blossom and the Lucius for follow-up Ash Blossom, because whenever you can add Ash Blossom back against VSK9, try to do it, because this checks the most important piece of their deck, Holisu. We'll have Molulu, and that forces out the Holisu, but whatever is brought out by the Holisu here will get negated by the Molulu. So he opts to go for the Heavy Burger here, which is not that big of a deal if it gets negated here. And I add back these 2. I set a Rahu for up, and he goes links off the negated burger just to add it back with the rock. And then he goes Kurikara, tributing my Arthalion. And here he, I think, forces end of main, which means I have to use my nip. This is a good nip. Like, if I don't use the nip, there he runs over my seals, and then he's free to make the Izuna, the Ripper here. So I rather just nip here. That's like a very good nip, right? And it's also decently big. This is 3,000, 5,400, 7,200, and 7,700. So we tribute the whole board, and then we have graveyard triggers. We have the seals because it got tributed, and we have the Arthalion that we made last turn, so not the one that just left the board. I wanted to chain block the Arthalion, although the Ash has already been used, but that's just a good habit to have, right? You just chain block the Erotic Seals special effect, and we also want the Arthalion on the board for more fusion fodder here. Plus, we already have another Arthalion engraved, so next turn I want to use the once per turn of this to revive again. So no reason not to bring it out. We bring back the Molulu. We still have the field effect. We don't have the grave effect anymore. He actually uses his normal summon now, being Mad Love, goes into Vanquish Soul Start, and I go use Molulu, and I fuse the Arthalion from my field and the Lucius from my hand to go into Gulamel. I thought I still had the Gulamel pop, but I didn't. And then he goes Mad Love effect to reduce the attack of Gulamel, and so that he can go. First he tries to go Vanquish Soul Start, but I will just ash that. I want to keep the hand size small. So then he goes Borger, bounce the Mad Love because our Gulamel is reduced, so we can run over it. Reveal the Dark, draws a card, which is the Snow Devil, which is, I think, a good draw, because I don't think he gets another Vanquish Soul on the board anyway to set it with the field spell. So this is just a hard draw, the best interaction in their deck. in a simplified game state. So he runs over the Gulamel, I take some damage, and then he links it to rock, sets the Snow Devil, and passes back to me. I draw Lucius, and I just start my turn with a Kitu. I didn't know what the draw was, obviously, so I was like, okay, I just want to know if this is an Imperm or a Snow Devil. So this is in the Imperm column, right? The Kitu. He knew the Kitu was here, so if he had an Imperm, this would be the position anyway. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to Kitu here. If it's an Imperm, he Imperms my Mululu, and I can chain the Mululu. If it's Snow Devil, I'm just going to add the Urgula and fuse. Plus, I wanted to first action, because he just went rock at Holisu. First action, I wanted Artholion add back my Ash Blossom. And he knows that his trap card will not survive this chain, so he just goes Snow Devil, asks me what card is set here, the Rahu, and he just goes Snow Devil, and I set 2. I think he decided not to pop here, because I would get back the Gulamel and the Artholion, and I go now Urgula, add back the Lucius, and at this point, I know the only interaction that is left is Holisu, and I have the Ash to check that, so I'm free to try to find a lethal line here. And I go Lucius, grab Pan, and we link into Cross Sheep, which triggers the Gulamel, and then the Gulamel summon triggers the Cross Sheep. The Cross Sheep will bring back the Lucius, and I already used Lucius effect, but I just wanted to level 4 Spellcaster to go into Artemis. At that point, he asks, what does the Magistus Fusion do again? So I bring it out for him to read, and I put it back, and now I go 5 mana. To fuse, I was considering here, do I want to fuse Magistus and like the Artemis and the Artharion, or just the Artemis and the Cross Sheep? I think it's just Artemis and Cross Sheep, but I got greedy here. So I fuse the Arthalion, and this triggers the other Arthalion in the grave, which I haven't used yet, which means I can try and Gulamel pop. So he goes and activates Holisu, so I can Gulamel pop, and I just Ash it, so he can't summon from the deck. Now there's really nothing as for interactions. I get the Artholion back, I go Zoroa, equip the Artemis, and now for the cool part, I use the Artemis. I grab Crowley. Remember, this Nib token is gigantic, right? So what we do is we summon Crowley, we go into Iwas, and this has 7,000 something, right? Iwas can take control of it and boost it by another 1,000. So what we do is we Iwas take the token, put it into attack, we run over the Holisu, and then the token runs into the Rock of the Vanquisher for game. So that's when he decides to go game 2. And he will start. Our hand is Engine and Fualos. So seeing this hand, I was a bit discouraged. Like, if there's an Ash for this Fualos, maybe we take a fire out of the hand. But if this Fualos resolves, maybe we have a chance. So he goes normal summon Raisin, add Holisu. I just Fualos here. I think in Trip's video, he said you always Fualos when they reveal Holisu in hand, because if it's on the field and they reveal an Ash, and you're just screwed, right? In this case, there's also a Raisin on board, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna throw the Fualos here in case they go to rock immediately, because they need a fire for Holisu, and that is exactly what he would have done here. So just throw the Fualos here, and now he can pivot away from the normal combo, try to not give me too many draws while still setting up the trap, for example. So he goes Prosp for 6, finds an Ash, really good card against me, can negate my Kitu, can negate my Rahu, and then he goes Holisu, reveal Mad Love, special summon, Holisu, reveal Mad Love and Ash, which I already knew, to summon Mad Love from deck, which gives me a draw into Kitu, and then Mad Love gets the field spell adds Caesar, and Caesar, summons itself, putting the Holisu back in hand, and end of turn set the trap. So luckily for us, there was a Fualos and a Stakersol in hand, Stakersol not being good into my own Fua, and the Fualos obviously not being usable, and then there is some attributes here, Holisu, and then the Snow Devil here, and the Caesar values pop, and also maybe the Mad Love bounce, I don't know. So we are on 5 cards, so we only got 1 draw off of Fuelos here. And we just see how we draw into play into this board. Now this Ash was a godsend, right? I don't know how we would have played through this board otherwise because Holisu exists, but Ash actually helps a lot here. So what we do is, I was briefly considering if there was any way to bait out the Ash that I knew he had, but there is no way like a good player actually ashes anything else than the spells here. So I just get it over with. I just activate Kikitu first action just to take the fire out of his hand. So that maybe he has to do some other plays that are a bit annoying. So what he does now is, because I took the fire out of his hand, he goes Mad Love and he goes Reveal Darkened Earth. So Mad Love and Holisu, and that returns the monster with the lowest defense on the field to the hand, your choice if tied. So that actually gives him the Raisin back into hand, so now he has a fire again. So we basically use the key to get the Raisin off board, which is whatever. Now we go Cartesia, normal summon, just because this is a quick effect, and Mululu would also be a quick effect, but it would block me, so I was just gonna go normal Cartesia, activate the effect. He goes Caesar Valius, and that would pop the Cartesia here, which I don't know if that's the right moment, but if he didn't use it, I would fuse the Pan and the Lucius, because now at any point, if he pops a fusion, I can Pan bring back Lucius. But now that he used it, I'm just going to use Pan and Mululu, going into Arthalion, and we go triggers, right? These two and the Arthalion. We set a Rahu, and I think I go negate Valius, pop the Mad Love. Yeah, so if he didn't use the values on the Cartesia, I would have forced it here, meaning I would have fused the Lucius with the Mululu, and I would probably fuse all 3 here, so that I can add back something else and use the Mululu to threaten the Caesar, while the Pan is engraved to summon back the Lucius, and I also get 1 more set, so that if he decides to Caesar my Arthalion, because before it's negated, I get the Pan, Revive, Lucius Search, Punish. But he popped before, so I go and add back my Mululu and my Fuvolos. Now Fuvolos is useless here, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to add Cartesia or Pan. Cartesia because it's a free +1 in the end phase anyway, and the Pan I wanted to leave in the grave in case, like, once I use Rahu on Lucius, and the trap, the Snow Devil pops my board, I can go Pan, bring back Lucius. So that is why I left both of these in the grave. We have Rahu and the Flame, and now we go Rahu, do exactly that. We fused Lucius from hand and the Urgula from our deck to go into Gulamel. Now we go Chain Links in our grave. I didn't declare here in Dueling Book, but obviously I go Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, and the Urgula now threatens the trap, and also the Urgula, if there is no response there, I could Gulamel, Chain, pop something else. So he's forced to use the trap, and he blows up my board. I instead use the Urgula then to pop the field spell just to deny some follow-up, and set my Horn and the Rahu for follow-up. Now, just as planned, we go Pan. Pan brings back the Lucius that we put in the grave for us to add a 5 mana. So now we go 5 mana, fuse our Lucius and the Mululu to go into Secretarian. We need some board presence. So that triggers the Gulamel in the grave to bring this back, and that prompts the Holisu. And the Holisu tries to summon from deck, but we have the Ash for that. Now we go Urgula effect in the grave, and I was saying Chain Gulamel, and he says okay. Nothing happens because Vanquish Soul Snow Devil protects from destruction. So I just add back my 5 mana here. I use the Secretarian Dragon to target Lucius and Mululu, bring back the Mululu for another point of interaction. And now in the game I went end phase, but obviously we just talked about it. I was like, no, it's probably smarter for me to crash the Secretarian. I don't have any banished cards, luckily, so 3k into 3k. and have the Gulamel run into the Holisu. So we do that, we add back the Cartesia, and now we have a Mululu. We have 2 cards that we can fuse away, and the plan is, this is main phase only, but as soon as we can, we Mululu, we fuse, we go Arthalion, we add back the Ash, and that will check any future Holisus. And we go main phase, he goes Stake Your Soul, and just as I said before, just flame the first Stake Your Soul you see. We shuffle back an Arthalion, just some recycling, because I'm going into an Arthalion like right after this anyway. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep my extra deck high if we get to a grind game. So we draw a pan, nice draw, and then I think, oh yeah, he goes Fuvalos. He says he should have done that in standby phase, which makes sense because there's a Mululu here. So I was just like, okay, just pretend it wasn't standby phase. And then I said, I will still go and... No, I do nothing. He goes Raisin, and I go, like, chaining 1 Raisin, I go chaining 2 Mululu, chaining 3 Gulamel, pop the Raisin, so that he can't pop the column. I fuse, and I go into an Arthalion, and also tell him put the Holisu back, because what happens first is the Arthalion summon, which means a Fuvalos draw, and then there is a search. So... in case he now draws into the Holisu, for example, with Fuvalos, he can decide to pick something else. So he draws into another Stake Your Soul, which is so unlucky, and then adds the Holisu. And we have the Arthalion. I just show him the Ash, and at that point he knows that with 2 Stake Your Soul and a Holisu that is checked by Mululu, plus doesn't even have the right attributes, this is not a winnable game anymore. So that is the matchup. Obviously, not every matchup will look like this. Most of our matchups against VSK9 haven't. It is a very, very tough matchup. I think I'm still positive or some way around it, but it's tough. So, but I hope maybe some of the lines I've showed in this video help you, and maybe are something you haven't seen yet. And if you have other like tips or interactions that you want to tell me, put them in the comments. Maybe it helps someone else out. Maybe it helps me out. And again, make sure to follow Blutdruck on Twitter. I leave the link in the description. And if you want to talk to me about Yu-Gi-Oh, just join the Discord. It's also in the description. And with that, see you next time.